You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
It's Later with Mo Kelly. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. It's night 2 of the DNC. And there's some publicity 101 going on. What do you mean, Mo? Well, conventional wisdom is if you want to bury some bad news, release it when there's a much bigger event going on. If you want to hide something, hide it during the DNC, where most of our attention is turned to politics, things of a political nature. Like, say hypothetically, if you wanted to get divorced for the 4th time, announce it that you're filing divorce, like maybe during the DNC, where you have a lot of entertainers performing and they're not thinking about you, J-Lo, Ben Affleck. But that's what happened today. We're going to talk about the DNC. We got to talk about J-Lo and Ben Affleck. J-Lo filed for divorce today. Filed for divorce. Evidently, there was no prenup. There's no settlement. So there might be a long, protracted battle in court for a number of houses and trinkets and probably multiple rings. Let me talk about rings for a second. Jennifer Lopez, gorgeous woman. Probably wouldn't like her as a person, but gorgeous woman. She's been married now 4 times, 4 marriages, 4 failed marriages. She's been engaged, but didn't get married 2 times. One of those 2 times was Ben Affleck, but he gave her a different ring both times. So if my math is correct, Jennifer Lopez has 6 rings. 6 rings. You know, now, I have to ask this of Mark Ronner because he's never been married, and I think he would best appreciate this.
Thank God.
Imagine asking someone to spend the rest of their life with you.
And my student loan. Yes,
okay.
Of course.
Okay. For someone to say yes, you would think it's a considerable, serious question to ponder, right?
One would think,
okay,
yes.
One would think.
Uh-huh.
But imagine that person saying yes 6 times. 6 times you're asked the question, will you please spend the rest of your life with me? And you said yes, because all 6 times you were asked, that we know of, could be more. You thought that the person standing in front of you was the person you could see yourself spending the rest of your life with. When I guess when actuality, it was only the next 2-3 years.
Your soulmate. Yes, yes.
6 rings. Let me put it in another perspective. You know how many 6 rings is, comparatively speaking?
How many, Mo?
Kobe Bryant only had 5 rings.
Yeah.
Magic Johnson only had 5 rings. Stephen Curry had 4.
What's left to believe in, honestly?
Okay, now, Tom Brady had 7 rings, okay? So she's on his level. When Tom Brady walks into the place, he has 7 rings. When J-Lo walks in, she has 6 rings. They can have a conversation.
Is it the same kind of achievement, really?
Well, pretty much. You know, they might even get married because they've both been recently divorced, so you never know.
Both involve scoring. Hey, come on,
Hey!
Boosh.
No, if he didn't give me a rim shot for my rings jokes, he's not even paying attention. He's not paying attention.
Totally checked out.
I don't get that. You know, why do they keep him around here? It's like, he's only here for the rim shot. That's the only reason he's here. And he had one job, and he couldn't do that.
If you're going to be here all the way, Foosh.
But I was actually being kind of serious.
Yeah.
For her, as in J-Lo, to announce that she's filed for divorce, don't think for a moment. A person who calls everything, who is meticulous in how she curates her public life. Don't tell me that she didn't choose this exact moment to help bury or at least soften the thud of announcing her 4th divorce.
Well, that's what you pay your PR team for sure. She's got people.
Absolutely. And this is on the heels of her canceling her music tour. Remember, she was supposed to go on tour and had to cancel that. So she's canceling her tour and her marriage within the same 30 days. It's been a rough going for J-Lo.
So what you're saying is she's available.
She is available, at least in a marital sense.
Uh-huh.
I don't know emotionally if she's available. She might need some therapy.
Well, who is? Honestly, look at me. I'm a mess.
Yeah, but you've been pretty stable in your life, okay? I think comparatively speaking, look, Your last relationship has lasted how long, roughly?
I don't know, but it's like
It's more than 2 years.
It's like Fitzgerald said to Hemingway, the rich, the celebrities, they're different from you and me, Mo.
No, they really are, because, and I would not want to trade places with her and her life. I would not want to trade places with any of her husbands. And look, J-Lo is fine as frog legs, as they say. Gorgeous. But after 6 failed marriages and engagements, the only common thread is you. It's you, boo. It's you. It's you. And remember, if they got divorced or they're getting divorced after 2 years, that means they were thinking about divorce a good year ago. Okay, it's not like you woke up on Sunday and said, you know what? I'm thinking about divorcing this fool. And then Tuesday you file? No. She was thinking about filing a good 6-7 months ago, at least. So it had to have been absolute hell prior to you start thinking about filing for divorce and all the legal and financial considerations you got to make before you actually file. And you have to sit down with your publicist. We were talking about that. And you have to game plan it out, what you're going to say on social media, all of that. It must have been hell from almost the beginning.
I think we're going to get more of those memes with Ben Affleck
sitting
outside
at the table,
smoking a cigarette, looking miserable.
Look, to be very serious, we all know that Ben Affleck has a substance abuse drinking problem, right? He's been very transparent about that. This doesn't help. Oh, this does not help at all. I'm pulling for him. I'm really, really pulling for him. But 6 rings, dog. 6 rings. And don't think she's done. Don't think that she, obviously she's someone who feels the need to be with someone.
Maybe just try going steady for a bit. You don't jump right to engagement.
Well, no one said you had to say yes. You know, just because these guys keep asking her, don't know why. Well, I could posit a guess, but it'll be really, really crass and really, really inappropriate to speculate in such a way on the radio.
Yeah, we wouldn't want that.
And someone would call me a male chauvinist and someone would call me a pig. And,
heaven forbid.
I mean, more than they usually do. And
no, it's so unlike you.
This is not the place to have that conversation, but I could posit a couple of reasons why men keep popping the question. But who wants to be number 7? Who's going to be the guy who says, Jennifer Lopez, will you please marry me? I don't care about all the other guys. I don't care. I only see you and me.
Will you please get my name tattooed on your flesh somewhere? Strategic.
When we come back, we're going to go to the other side of the spectrum. We're going to tell you about this new movie, which is going to be hitting theaters on Friday. It's called The Forge, and its star Aspen Kennedy will join us on the show next. Gets later with Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640 live everywhere, the iHeartRadio app. You owe me some rim shots, Stefan. You know that, right?
He owes you nothing. Silence.
I got you.
Later with Mo Kelly on KFI AM 640.
We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Character Isaiah Wright, he needs to grow up. He needs to mature. He's a year out of high school, no plans for his future, and of course, he's struggling to find his footing as an adult. We all might remember that time in our lives. But through the prayers of his mother as well as biblical mentorship from a community leader, Isaiah begins to discover God's purpose for his life. That's the story behind The Forge, which hits theaters nationwide Friday and stars Aspen Kennedy, who joins me right now on the show. Aspen, good to meet you this evening. How you doing, sir?
Pretty good. Excited to be here, man.
You're a Tennessee kid, Jackson State University educated, guided by faith. That doesn't seem like the beginning of a typical Hollywood movie career. Tell me about your journey from Memphis to Hollywood.
Yeah, man. So, like you said, I was born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee. I was there until I was 18. I went to Jackson State University, studied mass communications, but I didn't want to be a news reporter or journalism. But I know I wanted to do something with television.
Hey. What do you mean? What do you mean you didn't want to be a news reporter or a journalist?
You guys work really hard. But yeah, so I observed the time and the commitment it takes, the long news hours. I was like, man, I know I want to do something with television, but I didn't really understand what it was. So I took a course my sophomore year. It was Fundamentals of Acting. And I fell in love with it. I was like, man, this is the first class that I feel like this is what I want to do. And I wish I had the class every single day. But once I took the class, I've been pursuing it ever since, man.
You've been very public in your faith and how it has guided your life and career.
Yeah.
Were you ever concerned as you move up this ladder in entertainment that your career choices may not be in alignment with your faith journey?
It's very interesting because the more I think about it now, I get excited because truly on a personal level, I know what all that I know. Like, there has been nothing I've been able to accomplish without God opening that door. So, like, if I felt like I had to quiet myself down, that's disrespect to say, God, like, you've done all these things for me, but I'm going to be hushed now because someone may be offended versus like, people don't wake me up every single day. You know, God is my provider. He gives me life. He opens doors. So it's just like, you know, I share that in a way to inspire people to say, hey, like, you know, people are enthused about the movies, the television, but I'm like, man, behind the scenes, you guys don't see what God has done behind the scenes before I got to this position. So it's just like, I just want to share that good news and for everybody to know that, you know, when they trust God, he can open amazing doors for you.
Let me say this and offer this as a fellow person of faith and been in this business a long time. I hope you know that you will have to be confronted with decisions, that you will have to go to him and ask for wise counsel and order thy steps. You know that, right?
Oh, yeah. I've been saying no to projects before, and it was just like, and even in that sense of him giving me the opportunity to say, okay, this isn't a project that I believe that I want to associate with or like to be, it's not going to give the impact that the types of stories that I want to tell. And me saying no to those things, I was like, man, that was kind of like, it felt uncomfortable. However, right after that, the project that, you know, The Forge came, or like I did a Western earlier this year, a project came before that I turned down. And then that bigger project came. So I'm like, every time he's giving me a test to say no, he's brought something better. And that's been the case so far.
Let's get into The Forge since you just mentioned it there. Your role of Isaiah Wright is one which may ring true for a lot of people. As I was mentioning in the introduction, we've all gone through these, what I call vicissitudes of life, these transition periods where we're not sure what he has for us or what we should be doing. How would you describe Isaiah when we meet him?
Yeah, so he's a 19-year-old, recently graduated high school, and he's been abandoned by his father. And, you know, he doesn't have that clear sense of direction for his life. He's not responsible. However, he does have a praying mom that doesn't relent in her prayers and her love towards him. But she also understands that, hey, he has to grow in character and responsibility. And God answers their prayer for her and sends him a businessman that not only gives him a job opportunity, but he also walks with him through discipleship and teaches him biblical principles that change his life for the better.
Your grandfather drove this?
My dad told me he was going to fix it over me. This is the way he left it. Like everything else.
You are my son, but I'm giving you 1 month to find a job, or you can find one of your little friends that's gonna let you sleep on their couch for free.
Can I help you?
I'm just trying to talk to a young lady right here.
I need for you to leave my shop right now.
I'm gone. And I won't be back either.
That's something right there your father would do.
Well, I ain't him.
You acting like him. Boy, it's hard for a woman to call out the man and her son. I just need some prayer support.
I'm just trying to see about a job, right? I ain't heard about nothing. What, you a salesman for this company?
I'm the president. That's for more.
When you were going through this role and you're preparing for this role, what did you use? What came to mind? What did you draw upon in your own life?
Truly, when I say the film and the script was so impactful and powerful to the point where as I'm reading and I'm like, you know, from the actor brain, you want to make sure you hit every beat, you have monologues, you want it to be the best performance ever. But it was a thing where I was reminded in the sense of it, the Holy Spirit was just like, hey, don't make this about yourself. Because the moment that I idolize, like I have to give this perfect performance, then I'm watering down the whole purpose for the film. So I literally had to pray, God, hey, help me express this film, help me express this scene. And having the prayer warriors on set to be able to pray over me, that definitely was an experience to be able to not just act out a script versus like, hey, it was also an experience for me as well.
I'm curious, what do you hear from family members who have known you before you were an actor to who you are and where you are now? And what do you hear from fans who are receiving you just through your work?
Yeah, it's been really cool because, you know, again, I say this humbly and gracefully, like I've been able to express my faith and share my faith to a point over the years, to a point where people who have actually been following my journey, they're just like, God is literally opening, like, we've been watching your journey. Like, it's really cool to see where he's taking you now. And I'm just like, man, like, I'm here for the ride. I'm super excited about it. But people are really inspired themselves to be able to say, man, like, even my close friends, I'm like, he's like, bro, like, I really want to take my prayers seriously. Because I'm seeing what God is doing in your life. And it goes back to his word of like, hey, if you exalt me, I will draw people to you. But as they come to me, it's like, I'm like, hey, it's not about me. You guys, what you feel is all him. So that's been encouraging to be able to be a vessel, man.
Okay. Talk about being a vessel, but also I would say this is your form of ministry. This is your way of, I don't want to say proselytizing. I'm not putting it in that respect, but you know, it's the outward sign of your inward grace. Do you ever feel like it's a heavy burden?
I feel like the sense of heaviness couldn't be like weight versus like, okay, I have a responsibility to allow the Lord to pour himself out into me, so I won't miss moments of, even simple moments of speaking up to people if it's out in public, not just everything around film, but saying, okay, how can I make sure that I mirror my life and my relationship and my marriage and my friendships, and just being even a better stranger to people, to say, hey, how can I show up within myself and allow, you know, the love to be shown through me, through like Christ through me. So like, honestly, man, it goes beyond film, like you said, in terms of this ministry, knowing that, hey, any platform that we have a responsibility to love on people, to serve them, and just to show them how God sees them if they're placed right in front of you.
What would you like to be the takeaway for someone who may see The Forge when it hits theaters this Friday, opens nationwide, who may not be coming from a faith-based foundation, who may not have caught all the references that we may have made in this conversation, who are just going to see a movie? What would you hope they get out of it?
Truly, the fact that, you know, sometimes we don't understand things, like when we surrender, and I know that's a term people may not understand as well, but like things in our life, if we don't have questions, or if we're hoping for things, or we're searching for purpose, that's the perfect place to be in, because it gives God all the more room to be able to come in and make himself known. So knowing that, hey, when you trust God with things, even if you don't know how to trust us, hey, God, this is going on in my life, but I trust you with it, and I ask that you show up for me in a way that I can only never deny, then he will show up, and then God will give you like you said in the beginning, he will order your steps to say, hey, this is where I'm taking you, and thank you for just reverencing me. And I feel like that's so important.
The Forge hits theaters nationwide this Friday. Aspen Kennedy, congratulations, and we wish you well in your future endeavors. Your success is our success. Congratulations, my friend.
Thanks so much, bro.
It's Later with Mo Kelly. KFI, iHeartRadio app, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you find great podcasts, you can find Later with Mo Kelly. When we come back, we'll talk about the box office returns for the week. And is there a new number one? We'll find out.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And I have to, unfortunately, begrudgingly, unwillingly, pay Mark Ronner a compliment.
Kills you, doesn't it?
It hurts me to the core.
I can tell.
And I went to see Alien Romulus on the strength of his review. And I was a bit ambivalent. I wasn't sure about what to think of it, because I had seen enough Aliens universe movies, which fell very short. I was really I really was in high anticipation of Prometheus. That really let me down.
Oh, that let everyone down. Believe me.
Then I saw Alien Covenant. It's like, what are we doing here? It really didn't pick up from where it left off with Prometheus. It didn't answer the questions that it asked in Prometheus, and it went in a completely different direction. I think they wasted Michael Fassbender in many respects.
Gave him a good rug, though, didn't they?
Yeah, but that's about it.
Yeah.
And so I was about done with the Alien franchise. Then I heard the review of Mark Ronner, and he was so high on it, not unrealistically, but it sounded like someone who loved the original Alien, thanks to Ridley Scott, and that world and universe which was created around the character Ripley. And you said that there were some callbacks and some direct references. You didn't give it away. But when I saw the movie, I saw all of that, and I appreciated most of it. Some of it was unnecessary. Some of it was a bit on the nose, but I thought it was a fine and fitting addition to the Alien universe. It not only advanced the story, put it this way, we found out more, we learned more, and it said, yes, Prometheus mattered, yes, Alien Covenant mattered. And we can debate to what degree, but they didn't just make those movies and then just throw them aside.
No, whatever pardon me, whatever you think of the flaws, and there were several, you didn't walk out of the movie thinking, oh my God, stop making these. Put this out of my misery.
I did not think that at all. It came in at number 1 this week with 42 million domestically. That's pretty decent. Worldwide, it's 113 million. It's going to make its money back. It's another R movie, so I don't expect it to do too many multipliers. I don't know the budget on this. Let me look it up real quick.
80 million was the
80
budget.
million. Okay, so it's already making money at this point. So it is a hit as far as its production company is concerned. And I wouldn't mind going back to that universe again. The way they told the story, I'll say this, and it's true for many of the Alien movies now. Most of the characters are disposable. The one thing which is very different is there are no stars in this movie.
No, I mean, we know the star Kaylee Spaney from Civil War, which we both enjoyed. And she was in the Priscilla movie, which I didn't see. Did you see that?
No, I didn't. But I wouldn't consider her a star at this point. She's not a household name.
Correct. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I recognize her, but it's not like, and I guess that kind of is reminiscent of the original Alien. I mean, I think, who was in it? John Hurt.
The biggest actor at the time who was in it was Tom Skerritt, and
Right.
even he wasn't that super well known at the time.
So, and I think, it was going for a different look. It wasn't like they were going for the classic superstar look or, it's not like, Sigourney Weaver was a classic beauty. She was attractive, but they didn't make her out to be this beauty in Alien. They played her down, I thought.
I'm not quite sure how to respond to that because I think she made a huge impression on a lot of people, including yours truly here.
No, she did, but I'm saying it wasn't like she was in makeup or anything. They didn't make her out to be. I didn't take her out to be as someone they're trying to play down her beauty.
Oh no, and in fact, I think that the intention was that made her sexier because you remember the notorious scene where she's slipping
Underwear?
into the
Yes.
spacesuit in
Yes.
her underwear.
Mm-hmm. No. She was attractive, but I'm saying it wasn't like it was gratuitous in ways that you usually see in many sci-fi movies.
Oh no, it could have been a lot more gratuitous.
Yeah.
I would have been there for that too. But here's my question to you, Mo. After you saw this and were back in the mood for Alien stuff, did you go down the same kind of rabbit hole I did afterward?
I went down the rabbit hole of looking up all the Easter eggs and connections and callbacks and direct references. There's one very early in the movie, which is unmistakable. You can't miss it. And that put me in the right space. No pun intended. It told us where and when that story was happening.
Right. So it's supposed to take place after the 1979 Alien original and before the 86 Aliens sequel.
Yes. But they also they forward the story of Alien. I don't want to be too specific. And you get a little more information about the company, Weyland-Yutani. And it goes from there. And I like what they did with that.
Not a real pro-corporate message with Weyland-Yutani there.
No, not at all.
Not the good guys.
But that has been consistent from the very first movie. From the very first movie, they said the crew was expendable.
Yeah. Exactly. I think the first movie is a masterpiece. The second movie, the James Cameron movie, is a whole different ball of wax. Entirely, completely different kind of movie. Also, I guess in its own right, a masterpiece.
Yeah, it is. And it injected a lot more humor because there was no humor in the first movie.
Gladly. It's hard to play a movie straight like that, and they did a bang-up job of it.
And I always talk about tonality. I like movies which are serious. I don't need the nervous laughter. I don't need the out of place humor, to mask fear. I don't appreciate that. I would rather people just be afraid and act accordingly. And I don't need game over, man, game over. No disrespect to the late Bill Paxton, but I didn't need it.
Oh no! And you had played on, I think, one of the Friday night movie quizzes, a clip of Veronica Cartwright just in absolute stark fear. What a terrific actress who conveyed that and was like our avatar in the movie for what was going on.
Remember the log line for the first movie? In space,
no one can hear you scream. Yeah.
Or even Jaws, you'd be afraid to go back in the water. Those movies were straight as far as fear. I appreciate those movies more than it's almost like they're going for a joke and gag every moment. And movies now, they commonly employ that. And I would say this movie was kind of in that vein. They weren't searching for jokes all the time. There were some moments, but they weren't searching for them.
No, there's one line, though, and I'm not going to spoil it if people haven't seen the movie yet, but there is a line that's going to stop you in your tracks about 2/3 of the way into the movie or so and make you just wonder, what were you thinking, you goofballs? This just tears me right out of the story.
Yeah, it was unnecessary. That's the only way I can describe it.
Yeah, and you're going to know it. It's going to be a flashing red neon sign.
Yeah, if you know anything about the alien universe, it's unmistakable.
But just to add one thing, the third movie, I guess it was just Alien 3, the one on the prison planet.
Yep.
That one got a really bad reception, and it was easily the third best at the time, and where you fall on it now kind of depends on what you're into, but there's been an assembly cut of that rumored to be floating around for years and years now, and I would love to see that, because that's more in line with the original screenplay by William Gibson, the legendary cyberpunk author, and David Fincher's first big studio film, too.
I think the movie struggled because in the story, it reached too far to bring Ripley back. It reached too far to write a story that didn't seem to fit.
Well, it was,
and I don't like how they killed her either.
No, that was a mistake, and it was a mistake to get rid of Hicks and Newt right at the beginning of that movie, too.
Right, so you had no payoff from the second movie. It's like those were really integral characters from Aliens, and you say, oh, by the way, they're dead.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's what happens in the assembly cut, but anybody listening, you got a line on this? I want to see it. But it's people kind of ragged on the tone of it being too dark, and I'm thinking, that's an Alien movie. What do you mean it's too dark?
Yeah, the color palette, all of it. It was supposed to be tense from the beginning to end.
Yeah, if that's not what you're into, you're in the wrong party, bub.
Now, Alien Resurrection, that's when it started trying to get jokes in and things that just didn't make sense, and it fell apart.
Is that the one with Winona Ryder?
Yes.
We don't need her in that.
No.
I like her, but not in that.
No. And every movie has to have an android on some level, which the story turns on, but nothing worked in that movie.
Not really. That director, I think it's Jean-Pierre Jeunet, he's done some really interesting stuff, but this was not a good fit.
Well, when we come back, we do have a good fit. It's called Mark Ronner and Tubi. Mark Ronner has been singing the praises of the streaming service Tubi for as long as he's been on this show. And to his credit, Tubi has taken off and has become one of the preeminent streaming platforms in all of the television landscape, and it's still free, and I think they owe Mark Ronner some money.
Oh, they owe me tons.
We'll tell you about it when we come back. KFI AM 640, live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI AM 640. It's Later with Mo Kelly. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. And Tubi is one of the fastest growing streaming services around, which is kind of surprising because we always hear about Netflix or Disney Plus, Max, Paramount Plus, Peacock. We can run the list. You don't often hear about Tubi. Well, here's the thing. It is absolutely 100% completely free. Is that why it's popular? Not exactly. Yes, that's one of its attractions, but not why it's popular. Now, if you go to Netflix or you go to Disney Plus or any of those other streaming apps that you pay for, those streaming platforms usually pay for their content. They license new material, and the licenses are not in perpetuity. So you'll have new content come, and you'll have some of the older content go, but it's inconsistent. Tubi has a very different model, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but Tubi will have, let's say, TV shows that were only there for maybe one season. They will have cult classic movies. They will have classic movies like Hitchcock movies. They have a wide variety across genres, not necessarily first run, but they are also developing some of their own exclusive content, or they license exclusive content to the platform that you can't find anywhere else. What else is making Tubi so popular right now?
Well, for me, they've got an incredibly deep bench of old cult films that you're just not going to find anyplace else. And I noticed this when Amazon Prime first became a thing, too. I mean, nobody's going to charge a ton to license these movies, but they're still just gems to find. I mean, these are things that fans would go searching for and like get bootlegs of. And I don't know that we should talk about the one that I forwarded to you over the weekend.
No, we will not.
Because it was a little dicey.
No.
But I couldn't believe that it wasn't a notorious cult classic. And my jaw was just hanging open the whole time I saw it. And Tubi is a gold mine for that kind of thing.
What about commercials? How many commercials am I looking at?
They have not exceeded the rate where, like, I think Freevee is really on the bubble on this front, where you're thinking, okay, a little bit too much here. The cost-benefit ratio is getting unacceptable.
Okay, so I'm going to look at commercials, but it doesn't take me out of the movie or show.
No, it's a reasonable amount. You're getting some for free, and it's to be endured, but it's not onerous yet.
How much, if any, live programming? How is it? You just choose a movie, or are they showing them at certain times?
They have a lot of stuff that I haven't availed myself of yet, so I can't really speak to the live programming. I know there is some of that stuff, news, sports, that kind of thing, but I'm in it for the old movies and the shows and the cult stuff and the classics.
Well, whatever they're doing it better than a lot of the paid streaming services, or the paid streaming services are simply getting too greedy and pushing people like you and me to Tubi because they're becoming more expensive. They're becoming more expensive with more ads, and they're becoming more expensive with more ads, and I would say a lesser quality product.
Yeah, they are getting greedy. I mean, if you're already paying for something and they still have it, not only that, ads on the pause screen. Are you kidding me with this?
Yes.
Like I don't want to be advertised at every single moment I'm awake and my eyes are open. And what if I just want a still shot of a movie? What if I want to stop it and look at something? You can't even do that anymore. I hate that. That's despicable.
Well, I will give Amazon Prime credit for this, because when I do pause it, it gives me the option to find out information on the actors in that scene.
That's a really convenient thing with Amazon. I mean, it doesn't do much for people with short attention spans, because it's one more thing you can stop and screw around with if you had your phone taken into a bag like Tawala's kids.
But I enjoyed, when I was watching Close Encounters of the Third Kind, to watch the movie and be able to pause. It's like, who is that actor? Oh, that's Carl Weathers. I thought that was him. And then you get background information. It's almost like their IMDb page where you get to get their bio. But it's almost like the old school DVDs where you're getting the extra content on extra scenery, or just extra information while you're watching the piece.
Yeah, all that stuff's really nerd friendly, and you can go down a rabbit hole and follow an actor or a director. And I like the way that they make that so accessible. That is really good. But also, there is something to be said for just sitting down, starting a movie, watching it from start to finish like a grown up, and then doing that stuff later.
Well, I do, because, like, for example, with Close Encounters, I've seen it a dozen times. So I'm just looking for tidbits, Easter eggs, things I didn't know about a particular actor who might have been at the beginning of his or her career, something like that.
You were just looking up shots of Melinda Dillon from Close Encounters.
Well, that too. I mean, come on now.
We all did.
Yeah.
I'm not
those
above
jean shorts.
That.
Yeah, no, I admit that. May she rest in peace, but still.
Uh-huh.
Now you got me thinking about that.
No, I think Tubi's headquarters are in LA here. So maybe I need to look into interviewing somebody there.
Yeah, people in low places.
Why not?
It's Late with Mo Kelly. Let's check in with George Nori, Coast to Coast AM, when we come back. KFI AM 640 live everywhere, the iHeartRadio app. KFI AM
640 is Later with Mo Kelly. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app, and coming up will be Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. George, how you doing, sir?
Oh, Kelly, I'm great. On National Radio Day, we're going to be talking to Doc Wallach from CriticalHealthNews.com, and then later on, Strange Creatures Among Us on Coast to Coast.
What was your first radio job?
First radio job was 1971 at WCAR at the time in Detroit as a reporter.
I did not know you worked as a reporter. I learned something new about you today.
I've done it all, my friend.
All right. Well, happy National Radio Day to you as well.
You too, buddy. See you soon.
Okay. And before we get out of here, let me ask the same question. Stefan, what was your first radio job?
I guess my first terrestrial radio job was at, I think it's WPFK in Studio City. But my first time ever experiencing any type of radio this is when webcasting was a thing, and they started adding the cameras to the shows. And that was at Toad Hop Network, which was funded by Frank of Heidi and Frank on KLOS now. Mm-hmm. And he had a variety of shows. And so I worked with a comedian there, and that's where I just was I wasn't getting paid, obviously, but
wait. Nobody gets paid their first radio job.
No.
Nobody.
But that's when I realized I was I really enjoy this. So I was if I can find a way to make money from this, I think I want to do this for the rest of my life. It's really awesome.
Mark Runner?
Well, I had a radio show in college that I got thrown off of for making pranks. My first paying pro radio job was at WIIZ, the Wizard in Indiana, when I was going to grad school at Purdue. And I'm still tortured by what we had to say every single break. WIIZ, the Wizard, where the future is now. God, it was a terrible catchphrase. Oh, what about you?
My first, it was more like an internship. And I was at KKBT in Los Angeles, 92.3 The Beat. I was answering phones for a radio personality who went by the Poetess. And she had a Saturday radio show. This is right after, I want to say this is maybe 97, because I had just stopped working at the Grammys and I was in between jobs. And Poetess, she called me. And still good friends to this day.
Didn't Twala just have her on a show recently?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
And I said, POTUS, I'm between jobs. I want to stay busy, as you want to do in this business. And I started answering phones for her on Saturday mornings for her show, Street Science. And that was when I learned how to. I was talking to Lindsay, who's just started working with us. And Lindsay was working the phones, and she was telling me about some of the difficulties. I said, look, that's something we all had to go through, learning how to do the phones in radio. And that was my first thing, doing the phones for Poetess at KKBT. It's around 1997. And she also taught me how to thread a reel-to-reel machine. And this is radio in the analog days. This is pre-digital. We actually had to cut actual tape. Twala, what was your first job?
You know what I'm tripping off of right now? I knew that you started with Poetess, right? I did not know that you were there at the exact same time that I was there.
Yeah.
Because I started at the Beat in 95 answering phones for Julio G. I was Julio G's, I think I was his first, second intern. And he had just gotten on the air shortly after Eazy-E had passed, and he was giving his own show. And I had gone from being a rap artist where the Beat would play my music, 92.3 The Beat played my music. I made good relationships and inroads there. And when I wanted to get into radio, they said, yeah, we can start you off as an intern. I'm like, what's that? They're like, you can come up and basically work for free. And I'm like, sure thing. Because I just wanted to be in it because I wanted to keep that kind of that connection from being at the Beat. But that was 95, and I was there from 95 until we shut the doors. So you were coming in on Saturdays. I was never there on Saturdays.
Right.
Because that was beyond the internship. But man.
But what did you start out doing? Answering
phones, running around the corner to get pizza because I didn't drive. So I had to run around the corner to get pizza, burritos, whatever. And this is nighttime in Hollywood when it was filthy. This is before Hollywood and Highland was there. This is when it was crackheads and gang members. And it was T, go get us some pizza. Yeah. And I'm coming back with a box of pizza, breadsticks, sodas all in my head. Yeah, it was crazy. crazy.
Lindsay, now you have been working at KFI for how long?
Since March.
All right. And what did you have to do first day?
Training videos.
They gave you videos?
Yeah. Like modules.
Oh my goodness. Yes. We're laughing because everything we were coming along, they just threw you in the pool and said swim. You know, we got calls. Get their name, find out where they're calling from, tell them not to cuss, tell them to turn down their radio.
Yep.
That was it. And then they would yell at us when we had bad callers or something, as if we could control that. But that's kind of like a rite of passage. And I tell people all the time, you haven't worked in radio until you've like worked overnights or spent the night in your office or had to just do like a 24-hour shift where you're at the station the whole day. And your time is coming.
I did that in TV.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then you should know it's coming in radio as well.
I know it's coming. I'm ready.
You have to want to be in radio.
I do. I want to be here.
Well, I'm just saying for everyone. That's just a general rule. You have to want to be here because a lot of the early days, regardless of when you come along, it's not fun. It's not sexy. It's not lucrative. It's not inspiring. You know, you're doing a lot of menial tasks. Hopefully you are, because that's the only way you can learn. You have to do every job. And I think any intern that I've had, and Tuala knows this is true, I will put you on the mic because you can't be a radio professional and not understand what it means to be on the air. You can't be a future producer and mentor someone or produce someone and not have an understanding of what that person who's on air is doing. You have to have done it all so you can do it all. So you've been here since March, April, May. Wow, you almost got 4 months under your belt. 5 months.
Yeah, almost.
And you still like it, huh?
I love it.
Okay. All right. We'll ask you next year.
In radio, that's not a short career. It's like cat years, you know?
Right.
It is.
No, she's been through breaking news more than once. She's had things fall apart on her. It's like, yeah, radio is when things stop working. That's when you know that you're a radio professional, when you're problem solving or equipment isn't working or a microphone should break or whatever. The unforeseen happens.
You have a cart snap on you in the middle of a song.
She doesn't know what a cart is.
Carts.
She doesn't know what a cart is.
No, tell people what carts were.
Go ahead, Tuala.
Carts were literally the equivalent of 8 tracks, and that's what radio we used to play songs off of. And like Mo was talking about having to thread a reel, we used to have to thread a cart, basically record from a reel to a small plastic cartridge that had tape in it, and you would record a song onto this little reel, and you would take that into the studios, big on racks of just carts, and that's what the DJs would play.
But you left out a very important part. Some people would not play the cart all the way to the end. They couldn't rewind them.
No.
You couldn't rewind them. So if you took it out halfway through, then the next person to come along and use it was useless because
it starts right at that point. It starts at the point that you take it out. So if you have a DJ that's in a hurry and wants to get to the next song and they take that one out and put in because spots were on carts, everything was on carts. And they did that. Then it was, hey, Twile, you have to erase this cart and re-record it.
You know how we ask you to go ahead and get some audio, record some audio off a computer? Mm-hmm. Well, back when I was a wee lad in radio, the only way we could do that is we'd record it on a reel-to-reel. We take off the reels, we take off the actual tape, and we leave it on the reel, and we would scrub it right and left, go woo, 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 so we can find words or breaths to take out, and then physically cut and paste into a different order if need be. Or we would take calls, which were recorded on a reel-to-reel, like we do, like the Name That Movie Cult Classic game for the promos, and we'd have to physically cut them and put them together. You have no idea how easy you have it with digital.
I'm thankful for Adobe Audition.
Oh, no, you're not thankful until you have to thread a reel-to-reel and put together. And this is during the show. You're doing this during the show.
Yes.
Yeah, Lindsay, wait till he has to tell you about wax cylinders.
I have no idea what that is.
Okay.
I'll let you, Mark. Go ahead.
No. I want to know if you guys had cart nightmares just like dead air nightmares that we all had.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I still haven't had my Office Space moment where I'd get a pile of carts and douse them with lighter fluid and stomp on them.
No, working with carts was actual hell. And then having to clean the cart machine with Q-tips and alcohol.
Oh, God.
Happy National Radio Day. KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
Remember when you used to have a radio to listen to KFI?
KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live